Okay, I'm here. I'm doing a new video. It's a whole new year. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Linda Cosplayer and welcome to my bedroom where I create and I make things and I binge watch Gilmore Girls and I eat snacks in bed sometimes. Like, no one's perfect. Guys, I am so excited for this new year, mostly because I have been working on cosplay and I'm excited to wear it, but also because I have had quite a few ideas for new videos of tips and tricks I've wanted to give you guys for a long time, but now I've actually started recording them down in Word documents and on paper and places that I can actually get my thoughts together so I can actually come on and do new videos. So my goal for this new year is to do more helpful videos versus just doing the opinion videos, because opinion videos are fun and it feels good to like binge and like get it out, the things that I've been feeling and thinking. I think helpful videos obviously are going to be not only hopefully watched more, but I know there are a lot of newer cosplayers out there or people who are just getting into their cosplay groove, and I'm hoping I can help people. That's like my main goal for doing this YouTube channel. So you will notice next to me, there is a costume on my dress form. I am currently making Cornelia from the old early 2000s cartoon show, w.i.t.c.h. Oh my gosh, guys, I love w.i.t.c.h and I rewatch it pretty much every few years. I just watch it off YouTube because it's literally available nowhere, but it is such a fun show to get into. Bright colors, very like Sailor Moon-esque. If you guys haven't seen it, it's about a group of girls who find out they are chosen to receive these very cool elemental powers and to protect this veil between Earth and this kind of spiritual fantasy world known as Meridian. It is a really awesome show. It is hilarious. I love the characters. There's so many side characters that are just really strange. So of course I really loved it as a kid. And it was one of the few shows I actually woke up early on Saturday morning to watch on the old school JetX TV block, if you guys were around for that. So it is very special in my heart, and I really love to do costumes that are older and less well known, because when people see them, I feel like we just connect in such a special way. Last year during SoccerCon for Easter, I wore Lady Amalthea from The Last Unicorn, and I had some of the coolest interactions with people who talked about how much they loved the movie or how much it meant to them. I actually ran into a girl in Starbucks who was so excited to get a picture with me because she said it was actually one of her mom's favorite movies as a kid, and they both bonded over watching it when she was growing up, so it was a very special character. I love those interactions, so that's why I chose Cornelia. She is a character that when I was younger, I always found to be like mean and annoying, but as I got older, I love how sassy she is. I love how strong-headed, how much she stands up for herself. I love her love of fashion, and she's just kind of grumpy. There's something great about like a naturally kind of grumpy character. I really love her outfit, so I actually based it off of ice skating outfits and gymnastics outfits with some clear skin colored mesh paneling and some interesting shapes. I am currently doing some jewel work on it, which is not finished, which is why it's next to me right now. I've been working on it today. And of course, her lovely wings, which I don't know how well you guys can see them, but who doesn't like a costume that has wings featured in it? Like, let's be honest. So anyways, before I go too far, let's jump into today's video. And it can't be any more current because I used a lot of these tips and tricks to make this outfit, so I will talk about that. So, you guys have probably noticed, cosplay is getting expensive. It is getting expensive to go to conventions. Case in point, I'm going to SoccerCon upcoming. My badges for me and my husband cost $200, the most I've ever spent on a convention. And with the hotel mixed in, which is another $500 for a downtown Seattle hotel, I'm already spending $700 before I even get there, and before making a costume, before spending money there, before buying food, like all the stuff that makes life happy and enjoyable. The baseline price, $700. I couldn't even believe it. So with that, I think this video is going to be really helpful because we're going to be talking about things that I highly recommend you just buy really cheap and you save your money on, and you thrift and you purchase from certain places to save money, and other things that I have found you're going to want to invest money in if you plan to do cosplay long term. Now, I have done cosplay for 16 years, so you can bet there has been many trial and errors. I have found some tips from other people just truly did not work for me, and I could not understand how they were doing it or why. And over time, I'm starting to realize a lot of what you hear people talk about is very much influenced by how much money they're about to make off of you. So like I say in all my videos, I'm not sponsored or affiliated, and what you're about to hear is very honest answers and opinions. So please be thankful for that, because there's very few of us left out here. Okay, so let's get into the good juicy stuff, and we're going to talk about oh my gosh, it has not been that long since I've talked. Okay, we are going to talk about what I recommend you guys buy cheap for cosplay or conventions. So the first thing is very easy, because I have it right next to me because it's what I've been working on, which is jewels. Crystals, rhinestones, whatever you guys want to call them. You usually need quite a few of them, and you usually need a couple different sizes and shapes for projects. If you were to buy this at, let's say, like a Michael's or Joann's, even if you bought the cheapest brand possible, you're probably going to spend about $15, maybe more. If you buy w.i.t.c.h and decide to go professional stage costume, you're going to be spending $40 to $50. How much do you guys think this costs me? Because I actually bought it on Temu for $3. Right there, guys. My first recommendation is that when you are buying jewels, crystals, or embellishments, buy them cheap. Buy them cheap and buy them bulk. The reason I say this is because honestly, you can't tell the difference. Like between something like this and something that costs $5 to $10 more. And what I've actually found with crystals too is that you always end up needing at least twice as much as you think you do. If you guys watch videos on YouTube of people making dance and gymnastics outfits, because there is a huge market out there for those things, you will notice materials can be very expensive, and doing jewels, unless someone is paying a premium price to say, yeah, this is also a w.i.t.c.h crystal, they're gonna go cheap, because it is so much more cost effective to get packs of jewels like this that come in huge big multi-packs with lots of colors than it is to have to buy each of these individually from a Michael's or Joann's. Now, that is not saying sometimes they do good sales, and if there is a half off or 75% off sale going on, or you go to like an off-brand craft store and you find them there, yeah, go for it. But I really think sometimes people get caught up in the details, and they're so worried about like cheaping out on the actual like embellishments and details, they're scared to spend too little on it, which is kind of silly. I also say the same for fake flowers. And I know, before you guys say it, but Lynn, fake flowers from the dollar store, they don't look that good when you look up close. However, let me point out, you guys are creators, you are cosplayers, you have a good creative mind, and there is no reason that you cannot buy flowers cheap and slightly alter them to make them look better. Many people online actually utilize very cheap flowers from like discount stores, thrift stores, dollar stores, and they bring them home and they cut them up, glue them back together, hand paint them, dye them, like dip dye them, tea dye them. There's so many different things you can do depending on the look that you are going for. If you are making a Belle dress from the anime movie Belle, you are going to need hundreds and hundreds of flowers. And when you go to Michael's and you see a single long stem rose for $9.99, let me tell you, that will change things quite a bit. The other thing that I actually like about buying fake flowers cheaper is that they tend to be less layers and a little bit lightweight. So if you're doing a costume where you have to put a lot of them onto it, you also want to keep the weight of that costume down, and by kind of cheaping out on the flowers, that helps a lot as well. So like I said, please don't limit yourself to having to buy things that look really nice like right out of the bag. get creative. Think outside the box. Think about how you can alter things. When I did Elderwood Ari, I bought cheap dollar store flowers and I loved it because there was not going to be any flower that looked like hers. So I already knew I wanted to hand paint them and I saved a lot of money doing that. Okay, we're going on to the next thing that I recommend you guys buy cheap, and this is probably going to shock a lot of people. Guys, we are in a new era, and the era is the era of Amazon wigs. I recommend that you guys buy cheaper wigs off Amazon rather than spending the big bucks to get very expensive cosplay wigs from all the brands that we know and have loved for a very, very long time. I too have been sucked into the wig booths at conventions and bought wigs there because they were just so gorgeous and beautiful. But the thing is, you get them home and you realize you probably could have bought a very similar quality wig for around half the price, maybe less. Now, most characters that I cosplay, although I do wear wigs with them, I don't want the wigs to look cheap and I don't want them to look fake, which is the reason why a lot of people would invest in the more expensive wigs way back when. But the thing is, I have actually found my most realistic looking wigs on Amazon because they sell wigs on there that are meant for ladies who need to wear wigs daily. I'm talking about lace front, I'm talking about fake scalps where the top has a little strip of like fake skin kind of looking stuff so it looks real. And not only that, a lot of them come with highlights in the hair, darker roots, and a lot of like color variation. So if you need a very, very particular shade of like red, like I needed for Holo, that is all available to you with the click of a button. I really feel that you should not be spending $80 on a wig unless there is a very, very, very good reason for that. But what I have found actually works is even if you get a cheaper wig on Amazon and you're like, I can kind of see my hair through the wefts, you can just buy a second cheap wig of the same one and make your own wefts and sew them in. I actually prefer that because I like to alter my wigs more so that they look real. A realistic looking wig looks good in photos, and when you have color variation, it comes off looking much less like kind of like a cartoon character and more like a real person, which I prefer. They also have a great return policy. So as many of us have found, if you buy something online, you get it and you're like, oh my gosh, the color is totally different than the pictures. It doesn't look the same. Oh my gosh, it's not styled. I thought it was styled. Whatever it may be, Amazon has a really good return policy if you buy through an Amazon verified seller. Don't buy from a weird third party. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. But if you get your wig and you're like, I don't know, the red kind of looks deeper than I wanted a lighter red, not an issue because you can return it and get your money back and get a different wig. So there you go. Buy a $20 wig on Amazon. I'll try to leave some links below of the brands that I like. But honestly, my biggest thing that I can give you guys, just read through the reviews. Look at pictures of people wearing it. Look for people that have similar skin colors to you, similar head shapes, types. See what it looks like on them and see if it has all the features that you want it to have. Okay, we are moving on to the next thing that you should save your money on. Now, this is going to be for anyone out there who is needed to wear makeup in cosplay, which I know many males, females, and everyone in between who do wear makeup with their cosplay, but eyeshadow palettes. It shocks me to think that when I was maybe around 19 years old, I would spend $40 on an eyeshadow palette that had like 5 colors in it just because it was made by a brand that I was really entranced by. I think you guys all kind of remember like around 2010 to 2012. Yeah, that was a wild time. Since I did makeup art and I did on location photo shoot makeup for people, I learned a lot of secrets of the trade, mostly from other makeup artists. And one of the biggest ones I can tell you is that you want to get the most multicolored pan sets of eyeshadows possible so that you have everything at your fingertips to create any character that you need to. No one wants to invest in a million different eyeshadow palettes or one big one that costs a lot of money when you can go to many brands, Coastal Scents, Morph, ColourPop, and buy big mega pans, which come with like 50 different shades for around $20 to $25. So my biggest recommendation is, yes, there is makeup that you should invest money on because the cheaper ones tend to be less quality or less long lasting, but eyeshadow is one of those things that you can totally cheap out on because there are so many ways to actually make it stick longer, make it look better. Eventually, I would like to come on here and do a video where I talk to you guys about cosplay makeup and all my recommendations for it and everything I found that's worth it to do versus like stay away from, don't do this. I will do that eventually. But as you can tell, just right now, this one little piece of information, cheap out on your eyeshadow palettes. Go to these brands, buy them, invest in a big multi-pan, and then learn how to blend, learn how to color mix. It will take you so far on so little amount of money. It's awesome. And with that, also fake eyelashes. So one of the things that I really like about fake eyelashes becoming a lot more popular in the past like 10 or so years, there's been a huge resurgence of wearing fake eyelashes even for like everyday use, is that you can buy them in the cheapest places and the quality is actually very, very similar to the more expensive brands. So the places that I have actually found is the dollar store and Daiso, which is a $1.50 Japanese store. Oh my gosh, guys. I have bought lashes for $1.50 that honestly I thought looked better than the lashes I have seen for $15 at Ulta or Sephora. Don't break the bank and buy a single pair, because the other thing about that is that when you buy lashes, I highly recommend buying it in pairs of 3s. I guess it's not really a pair. A group, a trio, buy it in a trio. Because when you go to a convention, even if you only plan to wear the falsies for one day, things can happen. You're putting them on and you accidentally drop one in a toilet. You walk outside, it's really windy, one gets ripped off your face and flies away because you didn't put enough glue on it. Or you plan to just reuse the same pair, but the second day there is so much glue and gunk and grossness on it that you don't want to put it back on your face, and at that point you really shouldn't. Buying multi-packs of cheaper fake eyelashes will save you a lot of money. So like if you buy it at Daiso, $1.50 per pair, buy 3 or 4 pairs, keep them in your makeup bag, bring them to your convention. I really, really recommend this because it is one of the best ways to save money while also still looking really good. And I can guarantee you, if I lined up like 10 different cosplayers and I asked you which one of these is wearing dollar store lashes, I can guarantee you from the perspective of someone who did makeup art, you will not be able to tell. There are certain types of lashes that you may want to wear or may want to stay away from depending on the type of costume you're wearing, which again, if I do a video on makeup, I will talk to you guys about, but that's for another time. Sorry, that's my electronic vacuum, which is probably about to get stuck on something. Let me go fix that really quick. Okay, back again. Have you guys ever had like an electronic turn on in the middle of the night and scare the crap out of you? So my w.i.t.c.h vacuum, which is supposed to turn on every day at, I think it's like 1:30 or something. There has been a couple mornings where I don't know what happens. The power flips off in the middle of the night, resets it or something, turns on at 2 in the morning and starts coming down the hallway. And there's nothing creepier than waking up going, what's that noise I hear? Anyways, it's just a weird thing I was thinking about. Okay, back on to saving money. So the next thing that I recommend you guys save on is actually press-on nails. And the reason I say this is because it is one of those little details that I really think just makes a costume look so much better, is when someone has their nails tidied up and done well, especially if you're wearing a very feminine costume or even a costume that just has like so many details, so many embellishments on it, your nails almost become part of the costume itself. And while everyone wants to go and get beautiful like gel nail polish and acrylics and designs painted on, let's be realistic. Life is so expensive right now. And even myself, I have found it very hard to justify going and spending $65 on a pair of acrylics when I could easily buy a pair of press-on nails, do it at home all by myself, and spend less than $5. I have actually found some really good fake nails on Temu and AliExpress, Amazon, like all the cheap places, depending on what your budget is and what you want them to look like. But honestly, it's weird. I have found a lot of the fake nails that I got on AliExpress and Temu and the other Asian-based marketplaces, they look almost exactly the same as the bigger brands that you see at Ulta and Sephora. And it kind of makes me wonder if maybe these warehouses or like production factories are actually making them in the same place and they're just putting them in different boxes. Like, I am highly suspicious that there are many brands out there that are the same brand, but we are just not aware of it because the label's not on the package, or there's something missing out of the package that we're so used to with one brand versus another. So anyways, don't feel bad about saving money because you guys don't really know who is kind of screwing us over in that regard. Okay, the last thing that I recommend that you guys save on and spend less money, buy cheap, is wig tape and wig accessories, which I guess I should have said like with the wig thing earlier, but I'm talking like wig caps, Velcro headbands, wig clips, wig tape. There's a lot of stuff that people actually buy to go with their wigs. And one of the most common errors, I don't know if I'd say error, I guess like learning experiences as a younger cosplayer, is that I did not need to buy these from specialty places. I did not need to spend a lot of money on them. And then most times when you buy a cheap wig, they actually send you at least 1 or 2 wig caps free with it. And if not, you can easily find them for huge amounts for just a couple dollars on Amazon, and many stores sell them in store as well. What I like to remind people is that wigs are not just for costumes. There are many people who have to wear wigs daily or choose to wear wigs daily. And with that, you have to ask yourself, would the average person spend, $5 to $10 on this tiny nylon wig cap that they're having to replace all the time? I don't think so. There must be a place that sells them in bulk or sells them really cheap. And there is pretty much everywhere. Amazon, AliExpress, Temu, like I've said. And again, not even a lot. Pretty much every time I've bought a cheap wig off of Amazon, they have always sent me not only a wig cap, but sometimes like a wig comb, sometimes wig tape with it. Like they send accessories to go with it. I've never found that I need to actually purchase wig clips or wig headbands for a premium price. Most of them you can buy in bulk at a discount, or if you only need 1 or 2, you can buy them for just like a couple cents on most of the websites. Always, always, always ask yourself, when I am buying this item, should it cost more? Is there something in it where it makes sense and would be a premium price? And if you think about the fact you can buy an entire pair of pantyhose for like $4 or $5 at the grocery store, a wig cap that is made of the same material should cost you no more than a quarter or a half of that. Keep that in mind. Okay, we're scrolling through the list and we're getting on to the next portion where I talk about items that I recommend you do spend money on. Invest your money wisely, and there are very good reasons for all of these items. So we're moving it back to the makeup. Again, like I said before, there are some makeup items you want to save money on, particularly eyeshadow palettes and press-on nails and fake lashes. Those are great things. You can buy them in bulk. You can buy them very cheap. You can have tons and tons of variations of it. The one thing that I really, really recommend when it comes to makeup and body care and cosplay that you actually spend good amounts of money on is concealer and foundation. Cheap alternatives, I have 2 problems with them. Number 1, they look fine at first, and then 3 hours later, it is melting off of your face, or it is blending into your eye makeup and is becoming a huge mess. When you are getting high quality pictures taken at conventions that don't have filters on them, that don't have Photoshop or Facetune or whatever, you will notice these details. And it's very sad when you get your picture taken at the end of the day and your makeup looks like a different person because it just couldn't last. The other thing that I find is that you end up using way, way, way more of the product because it's not giving you as good of effects as a more expensive product would. Not that you have to drop like a ton of money on a luxury item, but there are some brands I think they do cost more money. It is an investment, but you're using a couple drops versus like 2 entire pumps of the cheaper product for your entire face. And sometimes people who are darker skin colors, in between skin colors, or have a more rare skin color will find that a lot of the cheaper brands just don't invest in as many color lines. And so you end up being really disappointed when your foundation is slightly too yellow, slightly too pink, slightly too pale for you. It really sucks. No one wants to feel like their costume looks awesome, but they can't get their face skin to match their neck skin. That's never very fun. The foundation I'm actually wearing right now, it may be hard to see in this light. This is actually slightly too tan for me right now. I am using foundation that I used in the summer, and while that's great, I'm actually tan in the summer. In the winter, I get very pale for my skin color, and I need to actually switch and use a more pale skin tone. So in this lighting, it looks okay. But if someone were to take a picture of me in a cosplay right now, and I was, in a very detailed camera lens, you would be able to tell the color variation between my neck and my face, which I wouldn't want. What do I recommend you actually buy? For myself, I find MAC and NARS are my two favorite brands when it comes to concealer and foundation. They have the most range of shades. They have a really, really good long-lasting foundation. Guys, I'm talking like I have put their foundations on, been at a convention all day, been at the rave all night, gone back to my hotel room at 3 in the morning, and my foundation still looks great. I absolutely love that. Great, great base. And their concealers tend to go a really long way, so you only have to use like a tiny bit of it. Again, they have a huge range of skin colors and different shades. And I've also found that most places you buy it from, like Sephora and stuff, they have a fairly good return policy. So if you buy it and you're like, really not liking this, it's not quite the right shade, you can return it and get your correct one. Price point for those, MAC is slightly cheaper. I want to say at around $40 something, $45, and NARS is slightly more expensive at around $50, but it is a very, very good investment, and a little goes a long ways, and I think it will last you for quite a long time. Okay, number 2, things that you should actually invest your money on, don't skip out on, don't cheap out on. This is a really big one. Permanent adhesives. Okay, when we're talking about embellishments and things like this, I need these to stay on my costume. You will notice this costume is really, really, really stretchy, which means I'm going to be moving around a lot in it. This costume is going to be moving around a lot. And I need everything that I glue on here to actually stick on and stay on through many, many wears and have a very good lifetime in this costume. I cannot take risks on cheaper adhesives, especially when a bottle of E6000 at Michael's is going to run me maybe $8, but with a coupon, I can easily get it down to $4 or $5. So I have my little bottle right here that I've been working off of. As you can see, this is a ton of glue in this thing. It's probably a little too big to use it for such small jewels. I also have a little jewel applicator, but you can also get E6000, this guy here, in tiny micro bottles on Amazon, and I literally was just looking at a pack of them, and it was a 7 or 8 pack for $15, and it comes with the jewel applicators, which is great. It doesn't cost that much. However, I have seen many people who either can't find this locally and they don't want to buy it online, or they want to see, can I use an even cheaper glue? Can I use Elmer's? Can I use a tacky fabric glue that I already have so I don't have to spend more money on more glue? Things like that. And while that stuff sounds great, you don't want to trust the adhesive on items in a costume on something that could fall apart at a moment's notice. Hot glue is amazing, but hot glue gets very, very rigid, and on fabric moving around all day, eventually something is gonna lose its grip and it's gonna pop off, and you don't want that to happen. With cheaper glues and tacky glues and off-brand glues, again, you just don't really know. The E6000 is one of like the leading glues when it comes to people that do gymnastics and ice skating, because it is known to be a very strong permanent glue. Cement glue is kind of like the glue of foam work because It again is a permanent bond. It's very, very strong, and you can put tons and tons of stuff over it without it losing its structure and its adhesiveness. So don't take a chance on things that come between you and the earth, like most people say, you know, have a good mattress, buy good shoes or good shoe inserts, have tires on your car that will not let you slip and slide around and get into a crash, but also don't chance things that are holding your literal costume together. Okay, the next thing, actually wait, I just kind of brought this up. Don't cheap out on your basic shoes or your shoe inserts, because once you get a very good neutral pair of cosplay shoes, you can rewear them over and over and over. There's a couple things that I look for in cosplay shoes when I am looking for just like a very basic pair. So I'm not talking about like a character that needs like a specialty shoe or something like that. Number one, does it have tread on the bottom? I know this sounds really dumb, but there are so many cute cosplay shoes out there, and the last thing I want to do is slip and smash my face into the concrete or rip my dress, because it's very rainy here in Washington, and when I'm walking around conventions, gotta go outside, I need a little bit of tread on my shoes. There are kits that can help you, but for the most part, I've also found if they skip out on the tread, sometimes they're skipping out on other things in the shoe. Are they comfy to walk in, and do they actually fit my feet? Sometimes people who have slightly like wider feet like my own will find that while the shoe is very cute, the toe portion is narrow, and as you walk, your toes push forward a little bit into that narrow space. And like I said in a previous video, I have cheaped out on shoes before and regretted it when I broke both of my big toenails, which hurt so freaking much. Guys, learn from my mistake. Don't do it. You can always buy inserts too if you're worried about comfortability or having to walk around a lot or having to pose a lot in shoes that aren't the best. But durability, comfort, and safety need to be your top things when it comes to shoes. Like I've said before, they don't have to be the most expensive things, but I do recommend spending like $40 on a good kind of basic pair of shoe that you can wear with many, many different characters, and you can make boot covers for, you can make shoe covers for, and you have like a go-to pair. For some costumes, I've also found just having a pair of flats that I can put into a bag or a purse, and when the heels get to be too much, or I'm like walking in between events and I'm like, I'm not walking a mile in heels, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, then I can slip on the flats and do it that way. But again, with shoes, it really sucks when you find a cute pair of shoes, you wear them, and they instantly wear out because they were very, very cheap. Where do I buy shoes? Well, it really depends. It kind of depends. Am I at the mall? Do I want to buy online? I have actually found a lot of places when they do sales at the end of the year or summer sales, I can buy shoes then and save a pretty good amount of money, or use coupons. Trying to think of like where I've bought some of my actually better shoes. And I will say I have actually spent money on AliExpress to get the more expensive shoe, I guess at like around $40 or so versus the really, really cheap one at 15 or 20. And I've always been happier that I did that because again, it's slightly better quality. Okay, next thing that you should be spending money on for cosplay. Upgraded tools for your main type of creation. I don't like it when people come on and do videos where they say you need to have like all of these range of tools or all of this stuff and like all of this specialty tools and gear and things. I am one of those people. I find that there are certain things I will do over and over and over in lots of different costumes, but there are certain creation techniques that I don't want to spend money on because I'm like, I never do this. I don't need to learn it, and I don't need to have all the tools stored somewhere in my tiny apartment. So what I do recommend you do is that if you have a certain type of creation, so like you are always embellishing things, or you are always sewing things, or you are always doing foam work for costumes, the tools that you are using to do those same creation techniques over and over and over, you start to upgrade them over time once you figure out what you really need out of that tool. Now, one thing that I have found a lot of people don't talk about, which is that it's good to start with cheaper tools because you learn what's important to you as an artist and what is a lot less important. And you're like, wow, I'm really glad that I didn't spend the big bucks to get this tool because honestly, I never use it that way anyways, or I found the cheap one just does it just fine. Like I don't need the extra help when I do it. But there are many things that I have found to be very, very good, useful tools that I'm glad I invested my money in. My Cricut is a really good example. When I did Alsa's Holo, I was able to actually use the Cricut program, and I did like the coolest thing I've ever done, which is taking a picture of her costume, actually deleting out the background of it, cutting out those designs that are on her apron and her dress, putting it into my Cricut maker, and then I printed it on iron-on vinyl, so it cut it all up for me, and then I just ironed it on and placed it, which made it look exactly like the illustration because it literally was the designs from the illustration. If you're using a lot of iron-on stuff, you're having to like make your designs over and over and over, and you're just so sick of having to like hand draw it and hand cut it, a Cricut machine could be a very, very good investment. It could save you a lot of time, and also it gives you that peace of mind that you have really captured the character as close as possible because it is like literally their designs. With sewing, I always recommend buy better scissors, get a rotary cutter. Anything that you need for sewing or cutting fabric, you want it to be sharp and you want it to be new. I have stopped being afraid to throw away scissors that got just so junked up, dull, gross, like someone used them on the wrong type of material, someone was opening packages with them, I can't get them to cut fabric very nicely even after being sharpened. Throwing those away and not being afraid to buy a new pair of scissors instead of trying to fight with my old ones, it's just not worth it. You want a very clean, smooth cut, especially when you are cutting very delicate fabric. When you have to cut like power mesh and stuff like that, where it's already hard enough to deal with it, the last thing you want is a tool that is like out to get you and is snagging on everything. Really not fun. And I also recommend that if you are doing a lot of cutting, get a couple different types of scissors or a couple different sizes of rotary cutters and cutting boards, because instead of trying to make the tools that you already have work for you, you can choose the right tool for the right project, which puts you into a very, very different mindset when it comes to creation. You feel a lot less pressure that you are not doing something right, and instead you can actually understand how the tools interact with different fabrics or how they interact with different projects. My other thing that I have invested a lot of money on is finally an expandable dress form, which I love. So for the longest time, I had my black dress form, which I really love that dress form. It was very pretty. It got very, very ugly after I made All Out Ari because I got glue and crap all over it. But it lasted a very good long time. I was very happy with it. I was thankful that I bought it. But one of the things that really bugged me is that my body measurements are very much not, what's the word for it? Like model based. I don't have the same circumference around my waist, hips, and bust that certain sizes do. So you can't just choose a size. It was always a struggle because my hips are bigger, my waist is smaller, my bust is smaller. When I would make things, I always had to add extra onto the hips. Now with an adjustable dress form, I can actually bring the hip width out and actually trust that what I am putting on this dress form will actually fit me. There was many moments where I put something on my old dress form, then I would put it on, realize it didn't fit my hips, and I'd be very upset. So I really recommend you buy an adjustable dress form. This one cost me a little more than, I want to say $200, so maybe like $220, $230. However, you can get them on sale during many parts of the year. And if you buy them from Michael's or Joann's, I think it's Joann's that has them, they usually have coupons, so just wait until there's a bigger coupon sort of sale going on and then buy one then. The reason I think everyone should own one of these is because your body changes. You are going to change in size. Sometimes you will be slightly smaller. Sometimes you will be slightly bigger. Many people who do cosplay, younger, getting older, you're going to get taller. Things are going to stretch out and they're not going to be the same as they were before. Your cosplay should be able to grow with that. If you get an adjustable dress form, guess what? This dress form can actually go up in height. It can go down in height. I can make the waist bigger if I need to. I can make the bust smaller, like whatever it needs. I can make it actually fit me. The other cool thing is that if I choose to help someone else make a costume, I can take their measurements and then make my dress form fit them as well. So it, works for a variety of projects. Okay. The last thing that I recommend you guys really invest your money on is regular maintenance of your tools. Now, I just talked about scissors and things like that, which I always recommend getting them sharpened. My local Joann's, that's like a town over, they have sharpening events, and they actually put up a flyer that says when the sharpening guy is going to be there, so people can show up with a bag of their tools, get everything sharpened, knife, scissors, everything in between. Highly recommend doing that. But there are many to-go sharpener type businesses and people, and sometimes you can actually have them come to your house and even sharpen like your culinary knives and all of your fabric stuff and everything that you need. Keep it sharp, because a sharp tool is a safe tool, as they say, and again, you will be fighting a lot less with your tools. Box cutters, especially Kamui Cosplay has some pretty good tips about how to keep your box cutters sharp so that when you're cutting foam, you can get a really, really nice, like clean edge. Sewing machines, guys. I have found through trial and error, as much as I fight it, to keep my sewing machine well maintained and cleaned, because when I don't, materials like this that have sparkles and glitter get stuck in my machine, and then my needle goes in there and either breaks or it's gunked up or it starts skipping stitches. It makes a huge mess and it frustrates me to no end. When I start to get really frustrated, I like sit down and like stop, and I always ask myself, okay, when was the last time I actually cleaned my sewing machine? What was I sewing in it last? Could there be something in it? And it is always the sewing machine. It's not me. So before you get mad at your own creation skills, ask yourself, like, is it my sewing machine? The other thing is that I actually was gifted my sewing machine in 2010 for my high school graduation gift. And here we are, 14 years later. I cannot believe it's been 14 years, and it runs just as well as the first day I got it. When I hear people say that their machine is like broken or has things wrong with it or didn't last very long, I'm like, what have you guys been doing to these things? Because I don't even deep clean it. I like very basic, simple clean it and maintain it. And 14 years going on, it still works great. I don't have any issues with it. So, whatever tools you have, whatever machines you're working with, keep them nice, keep them clean, keep them well maintained. And if you don't know how to, or you're not really necessarily comfortable with taking apart your machines or equipment, there are usually places out there that will do it for you. It may come at a more premium price, but you get it back and it runs and functions smoothly. That's what you need as a creator. I also talk about cutting mats, because cutting mats, you should not be reusing the same cutting mat for lots of different types of things like gluing, cutting, rotary cutting, all that stuff. It is not fun to iron something and realize there was hot glue on the cutting mat that you forgot about, and now the hot glue is in your fabric and it has destroyed the piece. Has actually happened to me before. I now have 3 separate cutting mats. I have one for glue, I have one for paint, and I have one for anything else, and the anything else one has to stay perfectly clean at all times. So when you do stuff like that, you should be cleaning your mats after you use them to the best of your abilities and replacing them as needed. So if they get really gunked up with hot glue or glitter or sparkles, whatever you're using, don't feel the guilt that you need to keep it, throw it away, and buy a new one. And with that being said, when you are buying mats, if you decide to purchase a mat that is a nice one, that's kind of expensive. Like some of them can run up to be like $60 to $70. Really ask yourself, do I want to be hot gluing on this thing, or do I want to get a cheaper one that I only use for hot glue, and this one is only for cutting my very nice delicate fabrics? Not that hard to figure out. Okay, I cannot believe this video has gone on so long, but I'm really glad you guys stuck around for it. So thank you for coming back to watch. I'm really excited to be coming on here, talking more, giving more tips and tricks, which is always really fun as a long-time cosplayer. Anyways, I will see you guys around. If you have any tips or tricks of your own, feel free to leave them below. Or if you have questions that I didn't answer, I will help out as best I can. Have a good night, guys. Happy Friday, and see you later. Bye.